I called Aschenplatz a stitched-together web of stops and branches. Bern's railway station may not have quite as many tram switches, but it more than compensates with a sprawling maze of bus platforms and some very creative lettering. So let's take a closer look at the local transit around Bern's station. At this point, I should warn you. This was supposed to be an 8-minute video, but then I tried to film it. So imagine this. You're visiting friends near Bern's Ostring and taking public transit. Just before arriving in Bern, you check where your tram departs from. Line 7 from platform A. Easy. Just to be sure, you pull up the official station map. If your first reaction is mild panic, that's understandable. But then you take a closer look and realize that actually, why the f are there two platform I's? Both of which serve line 7 but in different directions. Or maybe you're standing at platform H, trying to get to I. Surely that's just across the street. Never mind, that's platform Z, of course. Platform I is all the way across the plaza. I think you get the point. So let's actually start breaking this mess down. Bern's railway station sits at the western edge of the old town, squeezed between the UNESCO-listed historic arcades, the Bundeshaus, and the university up on the hill. The station cuts deep into the hillside, as the streets rise over the top. And because of that topography, much of Bern Bahnhof is underground. This gives the whole place a strangely familiar feeling, one that frequent visitors to New York's Penn may recognize. With its longest platform stretching over 700 meters, long enough for 2 long-distance trains back to back, the station's local surface transport simply can't be handled by a single stop. Instead, trams, buses, and trolleybuses serve Bern Bahnhof at 4 different stops, spread across 3 separate platform lettering systems. Yes, 3. And that's not counting the railway platforms, which are, in and of themselves, a bit of a mess. And no, in general, these numbering systems don't coordinate. Yes, it's exactly as stupid as it sounds. The simplest of the station's 4 surface stops is Schanzenstrasse. It sits right next to the smaller western exit, colloquially called the Welle, or wave. The stop consists of 2 long but straightforward curbside platforms. Trolleybus line 20 stops here alongside regional postbus lines. Platforms here don't have any lettering at all. Passengers just need to know which side of the road to stand on. A little south lies Hirschengraben. Just a few years ago, it might have been a bit of a stretch to call this one of the stops serving the station. But with ongoing expansion work at the station, Hirschengraben, or technically Bubenbergplatz, will become more tightly integrated, with underground station exits connecting directly to the stop. Hirschengraben has 6 platforms. A and B serve all 5 of Bern's tram lines, making them extremely busy and in need of relief, which is unfortunately still many years away. Platform C handles inbound buses for lines 10, 19, 30, and 17. Line 17 also stops on platform D further south, something the other lines can't do because there's no platform for left-turning buses. Platforms E and F along Laupenstrasse serve trolleybus line 12 on its route to Inselspital, one of Switzerland's largest hospitals. In the middle of the plaza is a tram track Y connecting into Walgasse. It allows trams to turn back from either direction, doing disruptions and merges into line 3's loop. With an additional turnback via Bundesgasse, you get 4 different ways to turn trams around here. 3 from the west and 1 from the east. Only one of these is in regular use. And with new orders, Bernmobil has ordered bidirectional trams, which means technically some of the loops might not be necessary for much longer anyway. But now for a moment we're going to move away from the trams. Directly above the main railway station sits the postbus terminal, serving passengers traveling to Bern's northeastern suburban villages. And here's where the mess truly begins. It starts with what you would think would be the simplest issue: what to call the stop. Bern can't even agree on that. PostAuto, the operator serving the terminal, and the SBB app call it Bern Hauptbahnhof, or main station, which, while rather intuitive, technically makes no sense. Bern doesn't have a main station, a fact residents of Zurich would have surely gladly pointed out in the comment section had I not done it here. Bern's main station is just called Bern. That's it, there is no Hauptbahnhof in the city. Almost as an acknowledgement of that fact, the SBB wayfinding map, while also including the name Hauptbahnhof, also calls this stop the PostAuto Station, which is significantly more descriptive of what it actually is. If you want to find news on plans about the future of this stop, that's the term you need to use to search it. But as if that wasn't confusing enough, Benmobil, the local transit operator, decided to add another layer. They just lumped the entire terminal in with their web of stops at the station, making no distinction between their spread out mess down on the city streets and the PostAuto terminal above the tracks, just calling it Bern Bahnhof. So at this point, we have three actors, SBB, PostAuto, and Benmobil, all talking about the same place using different names. Great start. The terminal has 8 different lines which start and terminate here. There are 7 parallel platforms plus one long platform at the southern edge of the railway station roof, theoretically labeled R through Y. However, platform X generally can't be used due to geometry issues and is therefore not labeled. Platform Y is temporarily also out of commission due to the ongoing expansion work. Which line departs from which platform can theoretically vary slightly, but the terminal generally communicates departures very well, and as a rule of thumb, sort of higher numbered lines like 104 and 105 tend to be on the western platforms, while lower numbered lines like 100 and 101 tend to be in the east. From the terminal, buses leave via an underground bypass, passing through the station parking garage, and using a series of ramps and underpasses to be able to turn right onto and off of Schanzenstrasse from any direction. It is really rather clever. Now, let's finally get to the actual station, and with it, another admittedly very pedantic discussion on naming. But one that actually matters for wayfinding. Because while everyone agrees that this is Bern Bahnhof, half the documents call it Bern, Bahnhof, and the other half calls it Bern Bahnhof. A minor difference, sure, but a comma after the place name usually indicates that in a local context, the place name is not necessary, while no comma would make it an essential part of the name. Bern's Station Plaza can roughly be divided into 3 groups of stops. First, platforms A through D, located under the modern baldachin roof from 2008. These have direct underground access. 4 of Bern's tram lines stop here, along with trolleybus line 12 and occasional line 30 buses. Because line 3 has already split off, and each direction gets 2 tracks, this group is actually less congested than Hirschengraben despite serving more passengers. Though the congestion quickly picks up again once you get into the city center. The second group consists of stops along the road crossing over Bahnhofplatz. E and F for line 20's double articulated trolleybuses we already saw on Schanzenstrasse. G and H are turnaround loops for lines 11, 21, and late night line 34. Finally, platforms Q, Z, and I guess we'll throw in N now, are reserved for replacement buses, disruptions, or vibes. Honestly, sometimes I think Benmobil might just be committed to the bit. While they do include all of them on official maps, for some of them there is no physical indication of these platforms existing on the ground. There's no zigzag pattern on the floor or no permanent stop markers. And now let's head south of the baldachin. Platform J is used by looping trams of line 3, while K and M serve 2 local bus lines. And finally, platforms I and L serve bus line 10, which is, to my knowledge, Switzerland's most frequent bus line. Platform I alone sees 23 departures during peak hours towards Königs. Both branches are currently being upgraded for larger vehicles. Ostermundigen is being converted into a tram line, a plan that the municipality of Königs opposed. So instead, their branch will soon receive double articulated trolleybuses. So that's it. Those are the lines that serve Bern's railway station. Well, as long as no one turns the lights off. Oh, come on. Unlike Zurich, Bern doesn't run a nighttime S-Bahn network for weekend partygoers. Bern handles drunk teenagers the old fashioned way, shoving them on a bus. And because those buses also need to leave from the main plaza, there are something like 30 additional night bus lines departing from here. To keep this video even close to manageable, I'll just say this. If you're taking any kind of Moonliner bus, it probably departs somewhere here. So after all of this, you might be thinking, well, okay, smartass, but there isn't really a better way to do this. Or you might expect some grand proposal, a total redesign, new platforms, maybe letters replaced with numbers or colors or vibes. But honestly, Bern doesn't need that. Yes, it's messy, but that's the price of putting a major transport hub in the middle of a city. The problem isn't complexity, it's that the system refuses to commit to what this place actually is. A good example of what this commitment could look like can be found in a place Bern would never look to voluntarily: Zurich. Zurich solves the problem in one simple move. Everything that serves the main station is clearly marked as such, HB, and then split into legible geographic subareas. I'm not sure what that one's doing there. It's frankly absurd to have platforms H and J share a name while sitting 250 meters apart, while platforms from different stops are sometimes less than 100 meters apart. The obvious fix is to split these stops into clearer geographic groups, with a larger indicator that they serve the station. Something like this. The names themselves are mostly irrelevant. If the local crash wants to call one of them Gummy Bear Beehive, count me in. The specific names don't matter, the structure does. Schanzenstrasse and Hirschengraben already mostly do this. Bern Bahnhof very much does not, because right now Bern's problem isn't complexity, it's commitment. The system can't decide whether this is one big station or 5 small ones pretending not to talk to each other. So, next time you're on Bern's platform G, desperately searching for I, don't despair. Ask a local, and when they shrug, take solace in this. You're not the problem. Last time I did this, I was off by a factor of 2. So this time I've decided there's now enough of you to fill an entire DB ICE4. Because if your Deutsche Bahn journey ended up being only off by a factor of 2, some might call that a pleasant surprise.